Italian Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Questions from the Italian Football Podcast Patrons, where you, our patrons, decide what the show is about by simply sending in your questions via DM on Patreon. I'm joined, as always, by Carlo Garganese. So let's start with the first question, which has been sent in from CJ Barile. He says, should Fiorentina sack Stefano Pioli if they lose to Inter? Well, let's preview that game then, as we said we would. What do you think? Let's talk about the game. Preview.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, it's Inter Fiorentina on Wednesday, 29th of October, 2045 CET. Serie A match day 9 at San Siro. The team news is Fiorentina only have one injury, actually. Tariq Lamptey, who's done his ACL, he'll be out for the season. Inter have Mkhitaryan's going to be out now. They haven't said how long, but we're probably looking about a few weeks, a month, probably something like that.
Yeah, I mean he's also torn. He's also got like a tear, or not tear, but some sort of lesion.
Yeah.
Eye. Inter released a statement.
Not as bad as Kevin De Bruyne, who we will talk about in a bit. And Thuram still not fully fit yet, but he's getting closer to a return, isn't he? He's back in partial training, I believe, at the moment, but too soon for this game. And then Di Gennaro, Darmian, and Palacios, kind of like the minor players that are out. Probable 11. So 3-5-2 for Inter.
Let me just clarify. I just read what Inter said. It's a muscle strain on his. So it's not a tear. It's a strain.
No, it wouldn't be a tear if it's a month. Yeah. Probable 11s for Inter. So Sommer, Akanji, Bastoni for sure, but it's potentially De Vrij could come in the centre to give Acerbi rest because he's obviously getting older. Then Dumfries will have to play at right wing back. There's no other alternative. And then, there is Luis Enrique, but I don't think he's going to start after the post-match comments from Kivu where they said that he's not quite ready yet, didn't they? Him and Dube. So yeah.
No, it was before the game which caused quite a bit of a stir because that's 50 million down the toilet in transfer fees. Because he's basically saying neither do you or Luis Enrique are ready. And he basically took responsibility saying, well, I haven't had time to communicate with them properly, which is also, it was not a smart thing he said. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I don't see how that helps saying that.
It doesn't.
Stuff, to be honest.
It doesn't.
I think you just say,
it literally doesn't.
I think there's a way of saying it. I think you could say, you know what, he's just joined, new country, new team. And
he needs time.
Yeah. It's he'll get there. Don't worry. He's important. He's part of the squad. Lots of games to play. There's nothing to worry about. But yeah, Carlos Augusto has been tipped to give Di Marco a rest at left wing back, and then in midfield it'll be Barella and Çalhanoğlu are kind of untouchables, as they say in Italian. We're looking at either Sucic, Fratesi, or Zielinski as the other centre midfielder. Maybe Sucic potentially. And then up front, Lautaro for sure. And probably Esposito will come in for Boni. Would you go along with that?
I think Acerbi has to play because you're up against Moise Kean. And I'll be surprised if he went with De Vrij. But having said that, I expect someone and I expect Zielinski to start over Sucic too. And I expect him to field the strongest 11. I expect Boni to play. I expect Di Marco to play. I'd be surprised if he rotates.
Is Boni ahead of Esposito in the pecking order right now, would you say? Or is it more because Lautaro's playing?
Exactly. Lautaro's playing, so you'd rather have Boni there, Nick, because he's more similar to Thuram than Esposito is.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And Fiorentina's start 11 could be some changes because obviously things are really going badly there. Even though they managed to get a 2-2 recovery draw at home to Bologna. De Gea untouchable in goal. Then potentially Komutso and Pongracic could come into the defence because they're not defending well alongside Ranieri. Dodò and Gosens will be the wing-backs, of course. And then in midfield, we're looking at Mandragora, Nicolucci Caviglia, Fagioli, and then Fazzini behind Moise Kean in a 3-5-1-1, which is a system I don't really like. I don't really think it's a Pioli system either, but they've made their bed. They haven't They haven't signed wingers. They don't have any wingers, so they're kind of restricted with having to play this kind of narrow formation. It's not really working. And yeah, again, you know, we spoke about on the Monday show about how badly Juventus have been constructed. I think we can say the same about Fiorentina, can't we? I don't think it's just not a very well constructed team. It's kind of lopsided, and there's clear weak areas. They didn't really treat in the summer, and yeah.
And what's the point of having Edin Dzeko there then? Like, I mean, it's also like, why have Edin Dzeko if you're not gonna like? I don't understand what they're thinking here.
Well, also because they're playing one up front, yet they've got 4 attackers. Goodmanson can sort of play behind the one, but Goodmanson, Keane, Dzeko, Pioli. Yet they're only playing like Juventus already have got 4. Juventus have got 3 number 9s, but they can only play one of them. Fiorentina have got 3 number 9s, potentially could say 4 strikers, and they only can play 1. So yeah, not well constructed, but the odds anyway: Inter 1-3, Fiorentina 7-1. That's ridiculously long odds for a team like Fiorentina. Draw 9-5, and yeah, I mean, coming back to the question, if Fiorentina lose, do you sack Pioli?
I don't know, but I know that Fiorentina can't continue dropping points. We're almost like this will be match day 9, and they still haven't won in the Serie A, if I'm not mistaken, and that's just not good enough. But having said that, if Pioli is to somehow manage to pull one out, beat Inter away, that would forgive a lot of sins. It would give him lots of calm. But it's a worry that Fiorentina keep conceding late in games, and it's a concern for them. As for Inter, this is very important. Now Mkhitaryan's gone. Now after another heavy defeat, again 7 goals in big matches conceded in 2 games. That's a struggle. That's a problem. And there's Inter are also the way that they were baited and lost their heads after Lautaro Conte went head to head, which we discussed on the Monday pod. How do they recover? The way that Marotta spoke, the way that Kivo reacted to Conte. There's a few question marks here, and Inter can't afford to drop points here. If this is if they are to keep up with Napoli and if they are to keep up with the others, this is pretty much a must-win game, and it's also kind of a big game. It's not like massive, but it's a big game again. They've beaten Roma away. They've got Fiorentina at home. They need to bounce back. They need a reaction. And equally, Fiorentina need to really do something. That a hammering here by Inter, then Pioli is sacked for sure. I don't think it's a matter of should he will be sacked if Inter hammer Fiorentina. I think it's
because then you kill the confidence and you kill all the hope as well when you do something like that. Predictions. I'm going to go into 3-1.
I don't know. I think this is a really difficult game to predict. I really think so. I really think this is really, really difficult because of where we don't know where Kivu is in his career. Is he able to handle this? I mean, based on after the Juve game, he handled that brilliantly, but that was a different game. It wasn't as fiery and feisty and like they didn't lose their heads against Juve. Here, they absolutely just went off the rails. How Marotta came out and spoke for the first time ever after a game, talking about the referees and stuff. Like, there's so many question marks. I really don't know. I know that the pressure is on. But as I said on Monday, if how you handle these issues are what will ultimately decide Kio's future at Inter, and I'm concerned. I am. So I really don't know what to expect from this game. There are problems in both teams. Of course, Fiorentina are yet to win. They are leaky in defense. They're poorly constructed, all the reasons you outlined. But equally, where are Inter mentally? It's a big question mark. I really don't know what to expect from this game. But I think it's fair to say that Inter are favourites, but whether or not they can do it, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope so. But if I were to say anything, I'd probably say a draw. But that's just, I just think there's so many unknowns.
I love you, Never. I love you. Rest of the Serie A fixtures.
What?
You're so negative all the time. It's like
I'm negative about Inter, Mr. Gobby Moanfest.
Yeah, but we're shit. No, we're shit. We're fucking shit.
Sorry,
we're fucking useless.
You want me to? What did you want me to do? To take go dance around the Christmas tree after being like
predicted we're going to be a Fiorentina team that are bottom of the league? Maybe, I don't know.
Fiorentina, yeah, but at the same time, Inter coming off a heavy defeat, and it was a very emotional game. And how do they handle it? I think there's a big unknown there.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go through the rest of the Serie A fixtures. So Lecce versus Napoli, Atalanta versus Milan on Tuesday. Wednesday, Roma Parma, Como versus Hellas Verona, Juventus Udinese, Bologna Torino, Genoa Cremonese, Inter Fiorentina. And then on Thursday, Cagliari Sassuolo and Pisa versus Lazio. So a few big talking points. First of all, Napoli, Kevin De Bruyne is going to be out for probably 4 months. We've got a question on that, is our next question. So we'll talk about that. So Napoli, a lot of injuries. Let's see how they do with all these players out, because over the long run, that takes its toll. Atalanta Milan, I mean, that's going to be a fantastic game. On paper, along with Inter Fiorentina, the best games of the midweek rounds. And Atalanta 4 games with a draw. Milan after drawing 2-2 with Pisa. That's going to be a fascinating game, that one. Looking forward to that game a lot. Juventus Udinese. Juventus are they've got an interim manager, Massimo Brambilla. What will we know before that match starts who the next Juventus manager is or is likely to be? We'll see. So fascinating game. Juventus historically bad run. I mean, they need a win because they're 8th. They're slipping away from the top 4. They've got a battle for top 4 already. They're at risk of falling out the top 4 battle completely if this continues. And then a few managers under pressure as well, like Pioli, but Patrick Vieira at Genoa is another one. So they're playing Cremonese. Genoa have to win that game. They have to win that game. I think if they lose that, I think we'll see the same thing that's happened with Tudor. I think they'll pull the trigger fast and they won't wait till the weekend. I think they'll just get rid of him straight away if they lose that game to Cremonese.
Yeah, I think to see what Napoli do. Can they build on this momentum? That's going to be key. And of course, Lecce being Conte's hometown, it's always an interesting situation for him to return to Lecce. But Atalanta Milan is really interesting because how do Milan, after that craziness they had against Pisa, can they find their stability again? Atalanta create but can't score. And Roma, Parma. I mean, Parma are the champions of goalless draws, and Roma are the champions of 1-0 wins. So what happens there? Can they keep up? And of course, Juventus, as you said. And we'll be doing a post-match reaction on both Juventus, Udinese, and Inter Fiorentina for patrons, and we're going to put them out on YouTube as well. So it's going to be just so people know how the content is the rest of the week. We're trying a couple of things different this round when it's not the Champions League. It's a midweek round, so just so everyone knows. And of course, this to people watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify, iTunes, etc. This is a preview, or not a preview. It's an extended clip of the weekly Q&A pod, available only to YouTube members and patrons on patreon.com/TIFP, who can send in their questions via DM on Patreon, $3.99 a month. So if you sign up, you can send us questions for the weekly Q&A pod like this one, and also you support what we do and you get everything we do without ads, and we push them out as soon as possible for you guys as well. Right. Second question comes from Joe Leali. He says, is Kevin De Bruyne's top-level career over after this serious injury? This is an interesting discussion because it is a serious injury, this.
Yeah, it's so basically he's been diagnosed with a severe lesion to the right thigh or to the thigh muscle. I'm not sure if it's right or left. I think it's the right, isn't it? The shot
It's
where
very
he
much left. He was holding his left.
was he holding his left?
Yeah, he
Okay,
was holding his left.
all right, okay. So it's a severe lesion to the thigh muscle, and he's expected to be out for several months. Is what they're saying. No, but yeah, it is his right thigh. Pulled it up clutching the right thigh after his penalty during the 3-1 win against Inter. And he's going to be out for the time frame is likely to be similar to what Romelu Lukaku. It's a similar injury to the Romelu Lukaku one. And so it's a severe tear. It's like the worst grade tear that you can get. And it's a similar injury to what De Bruyne did for Manchester City when he was out for over 3 months with Man City. So the best case scenario, where are we now? Beginning of November now. We're just about to be at the beginning of November. So November, December, January. So we're looking at the very best scenario. He'll be back in February. I would say more likely back in March at best. By the time he's been eased his way in, got match fitness, worked his way, we're looking at April. We're looking last month of the season. His whole season, most of the season's written off now. So it's a disaster for De Bruyne. You have to feel sorry for him. But yes, I think yes, there are question marks over what this means for De Bruyne's top level career because he's 34. We've seen how many injuries he's been getting. His body has started to break down over the last year or two at Manchester City. And you've seen anybody that's watched him play, even for Napoli in his first games of the season, we can see that his legs have been starting to slow down. I don't want to say his legs have gone, but if you see him running, sprinting, it's not the same De Bruyne. It's a De Bruyne on the down, on the slide. When you add these serious injuries, he's going to turn 35 in, I think, June. It's yes, of course, you're going to ask that question. What does this mean for his top level career? Absolutely.
I think so. I think that's a fair question. I don't know. I really don't know. It's we've seen players come back from injury, serious injuries before, but like you said, he's not. He's getting on a bit, and it's not exactly been the super fantastic, stint at Napoli either. There have been issues. There have been question marks, and so this is a serious question mark. But if we were to zoom out of De Bruyne and look what it means for Napoli, like I said on Monday, one of our patrons tweeted at me as well, like this might be a blessing in disguise for Napoli because now the discussion is over whether or not he plays the 4 central midfielders together. Now he has to return to what he knows, Conte, and that means unlocking McTominay. And we saw what he could do. He did it against Inter. He did it even against PSV. He's one of the few people who actually got a pass. He is a leader of this Napoli. He's very important for Napoli. So maybe this could be a potential blessing in disguise, like I said, for Napoli in terms of going back to basics and getting the most out of McTominay. And also, this experiment that has not been working fully, you can leave that aside because you don't need to worry about it anymore. Because
agreed. And I think it also means for certain. Napoli already planned to sign a central midfielder in January. I think this just settles it now. Napoli will sign a central midfielder in January. We know who their main target is. It's Kobbie Mainoo of Manchester United on loan. They want to get that loan done. They tried at the end of the market. Mainoo's not playing much at United. Mainoo wants to make the move. I think that this will accelerate Napoli's attempts now to sign Kobbie Mainoo on loan. And unlike De Bruyne, there won't be an issue of fitting, like you said, fitting everybody into a kind of lopsided system. So yeah, we'll see. It could be a benefit. It could be a blessing in disguise as long as we said on Monday, as long as they try and sort out these other injuries, because it can't. it's not sustainable to have all these number of injuries over a long period and expect Napoli to have a successful season. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, big times ahead for Napoli.
Indeed. Next question. Frelyn Aguilar says, "Great work, guys! Every week, I became a patron this year. on Patreon because I just can't get enough of your pod. It keeps me entertained during my drives to work. I feel like you guys give us so much, but we don't ever ask about you guys. I would love to know more about you. For example, country of birth, favorite team, what made you like it, stadiums you visited, occupation, etc. Keep it up." Well, thank you so much for those really, really kind words. So why don't we start with where were you? You were born in Bedford, weren't you?
Yes, I was. Yeah. I was born in Bedford. Both my parents are Italian. Well, my dad was born in Italy in a village called Motta, which is near Popoggia and in Puglia. And he came over to England when he was 10, maybe 11 years old. My mum was actually born in Bedford as well, though both of her parents were born, grew up in Italy and in Napoli. And that's where I was born. Favorite team, I think I said before, Juventus were the team that I started supporting because two reasons. One, the Italian '90 World Cup, I fell in love with Roberto Baggio and Toto Schillaci, and they were both Juventus players at the time. And also because my uncle, who lives in Naples, and I think is the only Juventus supporter in Naples, he made me support Juventus. He took advantage of me when I was young and bought me Juventus shirts and memorabilia and all this kind of stuff. So that kind of made me support Juventus. And then Arsenal were my English team as well, which I've said on the pod before. I grew up being a big fan. They were the first team my dad took me to watch against Sampdoria in the Makita Cup in August 1991 when they drew 1-1 and Gianluca Vialli scored a wonder goal. Stadiums, visited plenty of stadiums all over Europe. Luckily, fortunately, through my jobs, been to World Cups, Champions Leagues, occupation. Well, kind of what we're doing here: media, journalism, broadcasting. Also, my family has an Italian. My dad has an Italian cake shop in Bedford. Bedford is a little Italy. 1 in 3 people in Bedford are of Italian descent. And we have an Italian cake shop, which my dad opened 41 years ago, still going strong. I'm now heavily involved in it, in day-to-day with it, increasingly so. And just a family cake shop. So that's my life condensed.
I was born in Iran, in Tehran. We came to Sweden as refugees when I was 3 years old. I support two teams, IFK Gothenburg and Inter. I supported Inter because of watching the very first football game I watched of Serie A on TV was the 88-89 Inter dei Record of Trapattoni when Inter secured the title against Maradona's Napoli at the San Siro. Lothar Matthäus was unplayable. Walter Zenga was in goal. The atmosphere was just ridiculous, insane. I fell in love with Inter. Since then, pretty much. IFK, since I can remember, I've been a member of IFK since forever. That's how it was. It was an interesting time in Gothenburg in Swedish history in the sense that IFK at the time were semi-professional players and they won the UEFA Cup in 82 and 87, beating European super teams. And of course the Champions League mid-90s run, when they beat Milan, when they beat Barcelona, Man United, all the big teams in Europe that they beat, how unbelievably good they were. It was just unbelievable to be able to be part of that, and to watch that. And stadiums. I've been to many stadiums in Italy. San Siro is definitely my favorite stadium by far. The atmosphere is unlike anywhere else. And like you said, occupation is exactly what we're doing in journalism. Although I started by doing it I started Sempre Inter in 2012, wanting to become the biggest news site in English about Inter, and we quickly became that. And since then, I've done lots of freelance work for very big outlets. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing here, but in a different way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Right, next question. Jonas Skovby says, short and simple, did Roma make a mistake selling Eldor Shomurodov? He's actually doing well in Turkey. Just, he scored 6 goals in 10 Super League games. So
I think they did. I think he's a handful. He's a pain in the arse. He's one of these players that listen, I don't think he should be a starting player for Roma or for most teams, but I think he's as a sub, last 20-minute player, especially when you're chasing a goal, he is a pain. He is useful. He's better than he looks. He's just become this kind of cult joker kind of player, isn't he? But he isn't that bad, honestly.
No, I agree.
He's got some, So I probably would have kept him, because the other good thing about him is he doesn't complain. He's happy to be even third choice. You could not play him for games and he still won't complain. Sometimes you need players like that in your squad, So
Agreed.
while Roma are in this crisis they're in, you telling me he wouldn't have done a better job than what the others are doing right now? I mean, so I think they probably should have kept him,
Agreed. Hamza Mir says, should Inter try to sign Mark Guehi and Omar Soler on a free next year? Because I think both suit Inter and will help to push further up the field. And second question, do you think our boy Tito Ortiz will do a better job running the Serie A than the people that are currently running it? Or is Tito Ortiz actually running it? You could think that Tito Ortiz actually is running it, based on the level of competence on display many times. But I can't tell you who would do a bit worse job. And I think that kind of answers the question. And Tito Ortiz, for those of you who don't know, is a retired MMA star who is, I think, might have 1 or 1.5 functioning brain cell. I genuinely don't think he has more than 1.
Well, looking at his
he definitely
head,
doesn't have 2. What?
Looking at his head, looking at his head, it looks like it's been punched in so many different directions.
He says the most crazy, stupid shit. Hamza sends me his, there's like actual Instagram accounts dedicated to stupid things that Tito Ortiz says, and it's hilarious. It's very, very funny. As for who they should sign, I like Omar Soler. I know that he, there are issues there, but I've said I really like Soler. I think he would do something for Inter, but I understand why they might be hesitant. But I don't know. The thing that bothers me the most is that there isn't really a big, a number 1 for that defender role, and that's a concern. There really isn't, at least not at this point. It's not too late. The season's we're only in end of October.
There's a lot of is Soler available? Is not available on a free, is he? Is his contract expired at the end of the season?
I'm not sure.
So. I don't think so. I don't think his contract expires, because that would have been a very short contract that they signed him on if his contract runs out. Guehi, I know is available on a free, but I think that with Mark Guehi, there's so much competition. I just can't see Inter winning that race. I'm sorry. There's Liverpool, there's Manchester City, there's pretty much all the big Premier League teams would take him. Real Madrid are going to sign a centre back. They would love him. Bayern Munich would want to sign a centre back. They would love him. There's no way that any Italian club can win that battle. They can't win it on footballing grounds, and they can't win it on financial grounds either. So so I'm sorry. So Guehi, no chance.
Soler's contract expires in June 2027.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah.
So you could get him at a reduced price, but not free.
Yeah, agreed. But I like the player, but there are question marks, not just off the pitch, but also tactically as well. He can make stupid mistakes. I understand why Inter are hesitant. I don't think there is a clear front runner for that centre back position, and they need to find one, because Acerbi can't continue. Mkhitaryan, now he's getting injured as well. It's definitely time to move on. So we'll see. Jacob Dunn says, hi, Neiman Carl, I hope you're both well. I was wondering, how would you rank these 4 former Serie A owners from least to most crazy? 1, Zamparini. 2, Cellino. 3, Preziosi. 4, Gauci. In an alternate universe, I would have loved to see these 4 running the 4 biggest clubs in Italy. Have Cellino in charge of Inter, Gauci running Juve. It would have been pure carnage. Jesus. I think least crazy is Preziosi. Yeah, he's not crazy. He's just corrupt.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, the thing with the toy factory, the bribe with the toys. That's one of my favorite ever stories.
And Cellino is eccentric, but he's nowhere near the other two. So I'd say least Preziosi, then Cellino, and then between Zamparini and Gauci, it's a toss-up.
I agree. I think it depends if you're. I'll tell you how you separate Gauci and Zamparini. Zamparini was the most crazy for things that he said, for his way with words, because he come up with the funniest things that he used to come up with, like the Pirates. I love that forever be the best ever when he called the English Premier League clubs and managers. Presidents known as pirates for looting all our treasure from Serie A, and brilliant. What did he say? They're like Captain Beerbird, but Blackbeard. Who was the famous pirate? Captain Blackbeard coming over to Italy, looting all our treasure. I love him.
Zamparini has said some funny things.
But Gauci for actual actions. You got to remember, Gauci is somebody that signed the son of Colonel Gaddafi. He's somebody that signed a woman, or tried to sign a woman.
Wanted to sign Hanna Ljungberg and Victoria Svensson, the Swedish female national team stars.
So for actual actions, Gauci. For words,
I think that's fair. Yeah, let's go with that. Preziosi, Cellino, Zamparini, Gauci. Next question. Suneet says, in my opinion, everyone is playing a 3-man defensive line because the youth systems all over Europe are busy producing players more focused on technique and passing. Do you guys agree?
It depends what you mean. In Europe, they don't play 3-man back lines. I mean, some do, but there's most are still focused on back fours. Yeah. This has been my big criticism, Suneet, has been in Italy, we just play too many back threes. That's affecting our Italy national team, because when we go to the Italy national team, no one's able to play back fours, and we have defenders who are world class in back threes, but are unproven or not as good in back fours. That's not because they're incapable of playing. It's because they never play in back fours. Bastoni's the best example. Bastoni's one of, if not, some could maybe argue the best centre back in a back three in Europe, in the world. In a back four, he's struggled so far, but that's not his fault. That's because he doesn't play much in it, So I think I also think there's a laziness in Italy that, and I know, I get it. Managers are under pressure. Teams are under pressure. It's just easy and lazy. Let's just go back to a back three because, everybody knows how to play it. It's less risk involved, and they don't want to take the risk of playing with the back four and actually try to build something. And as a result, look at the teams. Juventus under Tudor, back three. Allegri, Milan, back three. Inter, Kivu, before that Inzaghi, back three. Roma, Gasperini, back three. Fiorentina, Pioli, back three. There's only, out of the top clubs, believe it or not, and this is bizarre, Conte at Napoli is the back four. Yeah. And Sarri at Lazio, back four. Como, Fabregas, back four. And Italiano, Bologna, back four. And some of those I've mentioned, they're not as big as the others. And, it's only Napoli, really, out of the big clubs that are playing a back four.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know the reason. I don't think the reason is to do with what Suneet said. No,
I don't think so either. No, I think it's just if it works, if somebody, if a system works, they stick with it pretty much. Nick Passaretti says, hi guys, question for the pod. I was listening to the Overlap, Prem Facery at its finest, and they were talking about how socios give the first scored ball away for auction every game. One of the guys said how he's done extensive research into it, and he has no idea where the money goes. Do you guys have any idea about this? The funds are split between the clubs. And one more, Nima, you've absolutely floored me with some of these Swedish sayings. Are there any sayings you love to quote or remember from your childhood that so elegantly explain things so well? Love the work you've been doing. Keep it up. If you ever come to America and New York, I'll treat you to some American barbecue. Well, thank you for those kind words. Really appreciate that, Nick. No, the Swedish saying.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I appreciate that.
The Swedish saying, no, it's not. It's just the ones like the ones I use are the ones I've heard growing up. Like it's not like, you know, I don't know. Like it's just when something is really when it works well, I just use them. They just
just got a phone call, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah. So
no,
it's not
the
like...
Socios thing is that's the actual
league
organization, isn't it? That's not the like Socios as in like in Spain with Barcelona with your members and everything. That's I assume that's what you're talking about. Yeah. We saw that in Serie A. They as soon as the goal's scored, they take it off the pitch and start with a new one.
Yeah, they auction them out, and I have no idea how they get paid or who gets paid, but I hope that they do get paid. Because less said about that, the better. Next question, Jack Hacken says, hi, Nima and Carlo, question for the pod. Is Christian Kiva the best thing that could have happened to Pio Esposito? Basically turn Pio into a trusted, solid option starting and coming on from the bench in dosages of playing time that will not ruin like Fati was ruined. I admire it. And should more Italian coaches from the youth teams be given a chance by Serie C or Serie B clubs, it will help the integration of youngsters to the first team, I imagine. I think the best thing that could have happened to Bonni was Christian Kivu at Inter. I think his career has really taken an upturn since Kivu took over both at Parma and at Inter. Pio Esposito, I think, would have, I like the way that he's been managed by Kivu, absolutely. But I think that he was going to play in the Serie A regardless, and I think he would have done well regardless, to be honest with you. I don't, maybe he wouldn't, maybe his output wouldn't have been as good. And that's why I say Bonni is for him, it's the best thing that Kivu took over Inter, because his output at Inter and at Parma has been outstanding. Obviously, the player is great as well, but I think, I'd like to rephrase that question to saying Kivu's the best thing that could have happened to Bonni, and Inter reaping the benefits. I think Pio Esposito is the type of player he is. I think he would have needed more time anyway, but I have no doubt that he would have been playing in the Serie A this season. That was Inter's plan. He did really well at the Club World Cup, so they decided to give him a full preseason, and then since then he's been kind of, he's pushed himself into the team, or into the squad as a rotation player. So no, Kivu's handling the young players really, really well. There's no doubt about that. As for more Italian coaches in Serie C or Serie B clubs, there we go again with taking a risk, and it's really difficult financially to survive in those lower leagues, and you need to have results. So do you take a chance? That's
generally not got a problem. But I was actually speaking to Patrick Kendrick about this. We were talking about this back three phenomenon in Italy and how it's actually harming. Also probably harming the production of Italian players as well. And he said that it's funny, and this is in response to this kind of Serie C, Serie B clubs. It's funny how the coaches, certainly at a top level, when they move up, the coaches who think outside the back three box generally are the Italian coaches who have gone abroad. So the ones that play back fours or play more progressive systems are the ones that have generally gone abroad recently. So De Zerbi, Maresca, obviously Ancelotti's older and he hasn't been in Italy for a long time, so I wouldn't really include him. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything in that that those that are thinking a little bit differently seem to be going abroad, whereas, like you said, the results matter, the safer options, the pragmatic options. That are the ones that they're the ones that go for the back three, and they're the ones that these teams go for. Yeah,
it's an interesting discussion. Speaking of the youth thing, Joshua Capelli says Lennart Karl is 17 years old, left-footed attacking midfielder who scored a sensational goal for Bayern in the Champions League. Italy have Pafundi and Liberali, who are similar players, but can't get a look in at Serie B clubs. I'm at the point where Italy should just become like the German and French leagues, where it's more focused on developing players, particularly players from our own nation, rather than being so results-driven, where Inter, Juve, Milan are clinging on to the hope of always being a top club in Europe. Do you agree? Or do you think it's not possible given the fan bases and culture in Italy? Thanks for all the great content. Just as a side note, maybe we as a society and we as a community need to come to terms with the fact that maybe Pafundi and Liberali were never that good to begin with? Can we, we know that young players don't have a pathway to the Serie A clubs and so on, but sometimes some players just aren't good enough for whatever reason.
That's fair enough, but when these players are literally the best players in their youth group at World Cups and European Championships, as Pafundi and Liberali both were in teams when they won the tournaments as well, then I think it's altogether fair to ask why these players who are better than a Lennart Karl, who also played in that, I don't know about Lennart Karl played in those tournaments, but their peers like a Lennart Karl, they were better than them. Yet this Lennart Karl comes through and ends up, whereas ours don't. I think there's definitely a question to be asked what we're doing wrong in that development phase. Yes, I agree. There will be some that are maybe not as good as we made out to be. Absolutely. But when we keep seeing somebody that's at under 17 Euros, under 19 Euros, under 20 World Cup, and they're the best in the tournament for their age group, and then they just nothing ever happens, it's sometimes it is a chicken and an egg, but sometimes it's I think when you see so many of them, you have to know that there's obviously something's going wrong. I mean, I think we agreed something's going wrong, but sometimes there are players that, yes, they're maybe not as good as you think they are.
Yeah, and also to answer that second point, no, I don't think they should accept that, but I think it's inevitable that it becomes like that, because the money the Premier League makes, they have such an advantage over the Serie A clubs and the Italian clubs that they can't compete right now anyway. So they're just going to have to make do. I mean, there was a really interesting debate on a different topic between Del Piero and Bergomi. And Bergomi was basically saying, well, basically his overall point was that, Inter are not as good as you all are making out to be. And that's been his consistent point for 4 or 5 years. Like Inter have been turning plus minus zero mercatos for the past 5 years. And they have certain players that are great, and they're able to, whoever they bring in is able to be used in a really good way. But are Inter maybe a little bit overrated overall? And that kind of ties back to this question of identity. Where are these clubs? It's an interesting debate. I don't know if you saw it. Him and Del Piero went at it.
I saw that there was an argument over it. I haven't actually watched the whole debate, so I don't want to say who I think was right or wrong. I've seen it's been quite. Some have been siding with Bergomi, some have been siding with Del Piero. I think that in general, if we're talking about it in general, without having watched the debate, yes, I think that sometimes some players can look better with the manager. Like Conte is the best example of that. He's made players that look better that have been average players elsewhere. So yes, absolutely. A manager or a system can get the best out of certain players and make them look better than they are, and vice versa, can go the other ways. So there's that, but there's also, I think with Inter, I mean, going completely off topic now. I think with Inter, I think that the whole argument about Inter have only had so much to spend, which is absolutely right. I don't think that's the case. If Marotta's done an amazing job to bring in top players on a shoot, judge it, then that's well done. That's amazing work from Marotta. That doesn't mean that the players are not good. It just means he's done an amazing job to construct a team of great players. Do you know what I mean? So, but I didn't watch the debate. I can't say that, but. I don't think that should be an argument against saying that Inter have the best squad just because they haven't spent any money. They've just done an amazing job to create the best squad. Then have they won with that best squad? That's another question. But yeah, it's.
I mean, Bergomi was a little bit too critical, in my opinion. I wouldn't go as far as he did. He's been saying that there's not that much big of a difference between Milan, Juve, and Inter. I disagree with that. I think that qualitatively Inter have the best squad. And he was making that, okay, Napoli, Inter, Milan, Juve, they're kind of in the same category. qualitatively on paper, and I disagree with that somewhat. But it's an interesting discussion.
I think for me it's simple. Have Inter underperformed based on the players and squad that they had at their disposal in the Serie A over the last 4 years? Yes, no doubt about it. They should have won 2 or 3 Scudetti minimum with those. But have they underperformed based on the financially what they've had available, based on the issues they've had off the pitch they've had to deal with? No, they haven't. They've done an amazing job in constructing the team, but once they've constructed the team available, then yes, they should have won more. So that's how I.
It's a very interesting discussion, and I'm really looking forward to following it. The way that they discuss this and approach this, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, as it usually is. But it's an interesting debate, and it was really nice to see them discuss this. We'll stick a pin in this and we'll see where it goes. Roman D'Alessandro says, "Hi guys, hope you're doing well. I feel the need to preface my question this week. I'm not defending Jonathan David or making excuses for him. Why does there seem to be this set in stone idea that Vlahovic and David can't play together? I couldn't believe this, but they have not played a single minute together. For a manager that was pissed off about Openda," obviously he sent this in before this weekend, just to preface it.
There's your
answer. For a manager that, what?
So there's your answer.
Yeah. For a manager that was pissed off about Openda, why does Tudor keep turning him as the second striker in late in matches? I understand starting one of David or Vlahovic over the other if he's playing one striker, but it's at least worth a try. The main issue they both have in build-up when they start is being isolated. David plays a second striker role for Canada. Maybe it can be a way to push Cup minors out of the squad too. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. I mean, I don't know. I it's not set in stone. I just don't think they can. Like, they just don't. Who would drop?
Who's the number 9 for Canada? Who plays off? Anyway, listen. I think that personally, I said it from day one. I don't see any of those 3 as compatible together in a 2. I don't. I can't criticize Tudor for that. This team has been constructed badly. It really has.
Well, it kind of reads into the next question. Pouya Marvasti says, "Since 2004, I've watched Juventus play. I don't think they've ever gone 7 winless games. This is the worst constructed Juve side since at least 09-10 season. Did Tudor have no say at all in the signings? Also, are there no Juve next-gen players, especially for the defense, that could be called up?"
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, isn't it? I said that in my Monday reaction pod to Tudor getting sacked, and I said that in more depth on the Monday pod, how badly this team has been constructed and squad has been constructed. So I don't want to repeat myself. Just go back on that, and that's where I have sympathy for Tudor. And in my opinion, this is the worst constructed Juventus squad, and the worst Juventus team in my lifetime. Honestly, I believe that. And again, I don't want to repeat myself. I explained why I believe that this is worse or there's less hope with this team going forward than there was in the banter era of 2009 to 2011. There was more hope then because they had a core of players that they could actually still build around, and which they actually did build around them and were extremely successful with after. So yeah, as for next gen players, well, I mean, if they stop selling them all, they sold that Mohamerovic, who Inter now apparently are interested in signing in January. So there's another one. There's another centre back. There is a young, what's his name? He had a serious injury though last season. Who's a centre back, and I've forgotten his name. I think he's Portuguese. Yeah, let me check that out. Go on to the next question. I'm trying to remember who it was. Yeah. They've sold all their best next gen players, basically.
No, it is fascinating how many of these next gen players have actually gone on and done really well. Huysen, Sule, Rovella, Fagioli.
No, they haven't done a bad job, Juventus, in developing some really, really good players in the last few years. You can't say they haven't. They've produced some really excellent players, top players. But the problem is that they haven't integrated them, or they've just sold them. They've done what too many Italian teams also do. That they sell in their players. They get rewarded for selling the youngsters because it's Pedro Felipe is the one I was thinking of, Brazilian. Brazilian centre-back. They signed him from Palmeiras last season and last year. He'd done his cruciate ligament in November 2024, and he's just about coming back. Now, he's very highly rated, but he's coming from an ACL. So,
yeah. Pippo Cacamo says, Ciao ragazzi, my brother recently sent me the 1996 under-21 penalty shootout against Spain. Now remember that Angelo Pagotto was Italy's number 1 with Buffon as his backup. Fast forward just one season and Buffon is playing for the Azzurri against Russia in a World Cup playoff. What on earth happened to Pagotto? I barely ever heard his name again when it came to the national team. Can you share your memories of Pagotto's playing career and explain why he couldn't make that final step up when he seemed to be ahead of Buffon at one point?
Yeah, I remember Pagotto being really, really highly rated. I remember him being amazing on Championship Manager.
I was just about to say that.
When he was at Empoli.
On
Yeah, he always used to go from Empoli to like a bigger club, and then, but he was at Milan though, wasn't he? I think Milan signed him after that under-21 playoff or around that time, and it was at a time when. Do you remember that time? There was a time when Sebastiano Rossi, Milan kept signing, making goalkeeper after goalkeeper signing, trying to find a replacement for Sebastiano Rossi, and every single one kept failing, and Rossi still kept on.
Yeah, I remember.
Kept on. Everyone used to say, you know what? Like there used to be jokes that the year is 2050. Milan have signed another goalkeeper, and Sebastiano Rossi is still the goal because they went through so many. I remember that Pagotto. They bought Jens Lehmann. Do you remember him? Total disaster for Milan. I think did he get subbed off in a game, Lehmann, or am I imagining that? Massimo Taibi, they signed him. He was a total disaster. I think it was Abbiati who eventually became the number 1 for Milan. Yeah, but Pagotto, now he didn't make it, and he failed a drugs test, I remember, and that kind of finished off his career. I think it was it for cocaine or he failed some kind of doping test. It was cocaine. He's banned for life. It's a bit harsh, but yeah.
Right, next question. William Paganini says, Ciao Mancarlo, I wanted to ask the pod a more personal question. What are your favorite memories of playing football? Do you prefer to watch or play the sport? Thank you and Forza Juve.
Playing football or watching.
Always be university in Aberystwyth on Sundays digs. Like everyone hung over. Just that was a laugh.
Youth football was always the best for me. When it became men's football, I never got the same enjoyment playing men's football. And to be honest with you, but my best memories were playing Sunday league football. I think I've said I was at Luton's academy. I played semi-professionally, but nothing ever beat playing with my best friend Arnie. His dad was the manager. First of all, we were known as Euro Colts. Then we were sponsored. We were known as US Valerio, and we were an Italian. It was like we were playing for Italy. Half of our team were Italian. We had a bunch of other players playing for us as well, English and other nationalities. But it was like we were in Italy. We were like playing for Italy. And it's I think I can see why a lot of professional footballers struggle after their career, because you can't replace that feeling of a group being all together. Do you know what I mean? So, and we had some great memories. We had a great team. We won, we used to win the league. We won our county league, the cups. We had some great battles, some great stories. Yeah. Great fights with the refs, with oppositions, opponents. Yeah. It was amazing.
Calling them Little Hitler, for those of you who listen to the Monday pod. I mean, it's I can't, like, watching it at the highest level is one kind of enjoyment. Playing it with your friends and memories, it's something. I can't compare what I prefer most.
What's the greatest goal you ever scored playing football?
Oh God, I can't remember. I really don't remember.
Mine probably. When I was at under 11s, I scored a goal from the kickoff. I picked up against the. We start because when we played our very first Sunday league, we were put in the second division, and we played in the cup against the team that were top of the first division, and they won the league. And our team in the first year we had half of our team were really, really quality, but half of our team weren't particularly great. And so we had no chance against the team, but I just got pissed off when we conceded a goal. And so straight from the kickoff, I picked the ball up from the kickoff and I just ran through the entire team and scored. It was an unbelievable goal. I took on the whole team from the kickoff without anybody passing it. Just person passed it to me. I took on everyone. That was probably the best goal I scored. Another one, I did a chip. I chipped the goalie from 30 yards. He was about 2 yards off his line. And I scored a couple of corners with my left foot. I used to be like Gianfranco Zola. I used to take in-swingers with my right foot from the left, and then I used to in-swing it from the right with my left foot. And I scored a couple of goals with my left foot, actually, swinging it. Yeah. So probably those kind of most memorable ones.
Yeah. It's difficult. That I don't know what. Yeah, no, I can't remember. To be honest,
you never scored a goal.
No, I did. I just don't remember.
What position did you play?
I played up front.
Oh, you're a striker.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I really can't remember.
Were you fast? Were you hold up play?
Hold up more. Yeah.
You back to goal. Zlatan.
Yeah.
Zlatan.
No. Nowhere near as technical as he.
Mediterranean.
No, I wish.
Ali Daei.
No. Calm down. Next question. Zeke Ramazan Gase says, "Hi fellas, recent member and listener of the pod, big fan. What's the most underrated trio in Serie A history? I'd say Roma's Totti, Cassano, Montella around 03-04 don't get near enough credit."
Underrated trio. Yeah, Totti, Cassano were. I always had them more as a double act rather than with Montella. I remember them playing a lot, just the two of them. And I remember thinking they've got no pace in behind, but yet they're still so bloody good. Like some of the link-up play, like combinations, 1-2s.
Batistuta, Montella, Totti was unbelievable.
Yeah. That I remember more as a trio.
One of the biggest what-if for me, the biggest what-if trio that never really played together is always going to be Baggio, Vieri, Ronaldo. Like, that could have been just ridiculous. That could have been insane.
Well, even Vieri and Ronaldo hardly ever
played. They never really played together.
One or the other was always injured. It was mad. I remember Vieri talking about it and saying we were together for like 2 years or 2.5 years, but we only played X number of games together. Yeah,
shame. But one of my favorite trios is Serie B. Tavano, Lucarelli, Diamanti for Livorno. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. So next question. Tony DeFano says, "Hi guys, after listening for about 2 years, it's time for my first question finally. Do you think Liverpool should be starting Chiesa?" Just kidding, not another Chiesa question. Jokes aside, what would your all-time Milan, Juve, Inter starting 11 look like? And would you rather have 3 stars like Juve or 7 Champions League wins like Milan? Thank you for always brightening my 30-minute commute to university. It's the saving grace of my Monday morning drive. Love you guys and thank you for the wonderful Serie A content." Thank you for those kind words.
Oh, God, this is a tough one. Well, first of all, we have to pick a goalie. So who's the greatest goalkeeper to play for Milan, Juve, or Inter? I mean, I think it has to be Gigi Buffon, I think.
Dino Zoff,
or you're going to say Zoff, because you always say Zoff. Yeah.
Zoff or Zenga. Like, it's like choosing between Zenga, Zoff, and Buffon is just...
Yeah. Well, I'm always going to go Buffon, but I mean the defense is bloody hard. I mean, I'm sorry, this is just an impossible experiment. It really is impossible.
It literally is the greatest.
It's impossible.
It is impossible.
I mean, Maldini has to be in it. I think
Baresi, Maldini, Baresi.
I think Maldini, Baresi have to be in it, but then, I mean, you've got Scirea, you've got Zanetti, Bergomi. Facchetti.
I mean, Picchi. No, it's impossible.
Nesta. Ferrara.
Cannavaro.
It's impossible. We'll give you the squad there. Midfield. The midfield. I think. Listen,
and then you got Maicon.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the players that have to be in it, and then we're not going to pick an 11 because it's impossible. The players that have to be in it for me: Baresi, Maldini have to be in it. Platini has to be in it.
Ronaldo, Baggio.
I think Pirlo has to be in it because he's done it all 3. or at least two of them.
Ronaldo, Baggio, Vieri. I just can't. Like, how do you? Shevchenko, Kaká.
I think let's put Baggio in it because he played for
Van
all three,
Basten, Zlatan. I mean, it's like I don't know where to.
Yeah,
it's impossible to do a combined 11 for those three.
Yeah,
it literally is. As for if you'd rather win the league more or win the Champions League more,
well, nowadays the Champions League because so it's like a once in a century, probably probability now for the Italian clubs. But before, maybe depends which team you are. If you're a smaller team, then probably the Serie A because you're never going to win the Champions League. So, if you're a Roma or Lazio or a team like that, Fiorentina, you can maybe say the Serie A.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Our producer Ned has sent in a question. He says, "Hey guys, I read in the Gazzetta that Gattuso's considering calling up Luciano Valente from Feyenoord to the national team. Born and raised in the Netherlands, has already represented them at youth level, but his dad is Italian and works as a pizzaiolo just outside of Groningen.
Is he one of the guys that Napoli sold to Lille for the?
No. Do you think this is just a case of trying to boost the roster of a pretty lackluster midfield, or is he actually an exciting talent?"
I'll be honest, I've not watched him.
I've heard play,
yeah, I've heard high things of him. All I would say is what I said to somebody who asked me about him the other day is that we need a central midfielder. We're really short at centre midfield. It's for me, it's Barella and Tonali as guarantees. And after that, I don't trust anyone that we've got. Not yet. I'm not saying that a Rovella couldn't develop. But right now, I don't trust any of the other centre midfielders. I wouldn't trust them. Locatelli, I think we can conclude he's just not at that level. And he can have the odd good game, but I just don't think we can trust him, to be honest. He's too flaky and I just don't trust him. So yes, we need to find another one or two centre midfielders, or one or two centre midfielders need to develop to give us another option because we're way too short at centre mid. It's a weakness. It's a weakness for us. But I look at Italy's centre midfield and their options at centre midfield, a similar way that I look at Juventus. It's Thuram, and as soon as Thuram's gone, it's like what the hell do we do? With Italy, it's Tonali and Barella. As soon as one of them's not available and someone else has to come in, we're in trouble.
Yeah, this is yeah. It's a difficult one. I haven't seen him, so I don't really know what to say. But I do hope that Ricci and Locatelli. I mean, Locatelli's done all right this season, but I hope Ricci can start to gain some momentum under Allegri at Milan, because I think there's a player there. I really do. Majin Tenshi says, "Hi guys, hope all is well. Question for the pod: do you think Gasperini is sending a message to the Roma management that he's not happy with Dovbyk and Ferguson? I'm not sure if playing Dybala as a centre forward is the answer for the season, knowing his injury record as well. And would Joshua Zirkzee be a Gasperini striker if Roma were to obtain him in January?" The first part of that question we kind of answered already on Monday, but the second question, Zirkzee, I like that.
Well, Roma are supposed to be the favourites. I think that, yes, he is a Gasperini player in the sense that he can link the play. He links the play well. But he's not necessarily a Gasperini player in terms of his running and his physicality. I don't think he's not somebody that's a really intense player who physically intense, if you know what I mean, in terms of getting stuck in, pressing ferociously and all that. He's somebody that I see as more a false nine actually himself, that he drops really deep and he lets runners go past him. So as long as Roma have those runners, which we know right now they don't quite have, certainly not from a Dybala, but players bombing forward past him like a Lookman, like De Ketelaere, like these kind of players, then yes. But certainly big upgrade on what they've got. So I think it would be a good signing.
Fair. No, I think he would do well. I think Sule would be he would work really well with Sule. I would Really,
Technically,
really.
Technically, he's a Gasperini player.
Yeah.
Sexy. He's very good at, for a big guy at playing the wall, playing 1-2s, and
Agreed. Tommo says, ciao guys, hope you're okay. Question for the pod. Can you detail what's happened with Sampdoria? I've tried to understand how they're in the position they're in. I've had numerous ownership changes over recent years and controversies around Ferrero, but I still don't understand how they've got where they are. What does the future look like for them? I mean, we have discussed this on, through the years, what happened, but basically it's like, how do I explain? Well, basically, Ferrero was arrested, and he was kind of forced to sell the club and whatnot. But now they're kind of in some sort of a, I don't know what to say where they are. Like it's just a weird. It's weird what's happened to them, and now they're kind of again in the bottom of the Serie B, and it's not looking good.
yeah.
Sad,
isn't it? Yeah,
it's very sad. I mean, he was in December of 21. Ferreira was arrested, and he was put in jail as part of an investigation into corporate crimes and bankruptcy, which were unrelated to the club, and he had to resign because they were going to get Stankovic. He was in negotiation with Stankovic, and then Stankovic didn't want to come because the person he was negotiating with was in prison.
He literally got arrested while he was having his interview.
Yeah. And Ferrero,
during the middle of the interview, the police stormed in on them while having the interview.
So basically, the former Leeds United owner, Radrizzani, and a London-based financier, Matteo Manfredi, Gestio Capital, they bought the club. And that's since then, like they controlled, so Gestio Capital at the time and their investors controlled 99.96% of the club. Investment vehicle Kickoff Ventures owned 58% of the shares, and that club and that Kickoff Ventures in turn is owned by Singapore businessman Joseph Tay Wai Jin. I'm not entirely sure where they are now. I've not followed that since then. I'm not sure if they're the ones who own the club still. Just going to look into that quickly now. But I remember where they were. And it's Matteo Manfredi is the chairman. But it's not looking good, and I hope they don't go down to Serie C, because that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
And the only reason they didn't go down to Serie C is because of Brescia's 4-point deduction at the end of the season last season. Because then they got that playoff spot. So it's a mess, and it's sad, and I just hope they can sort it out because we want them back. So next question, Sanat says, hi Nimankolo, hope you're well. If you had to pick one moment from an Italian club's history that fundamentally impacted its future, what would it be? For example, I think the Superga tragedy fundamentally altered what Torino was able to achieve. In that vein, if you had to pick only one moment from another club's history, what would it be? This could be the club you support or some other club, maybe one that's not so well known, but that has one key moment in their history. Thanks. This is difficult. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Oof. A moment that impacted the club's history.
Yeah. It's difficult. I really think it's difficult to say. I mean, the Superga one is obviously the most, like the one that stands out the most, because I mean, that really changed the trajectory of Torino forever. So,
I mean, a club's history. I mean, the league is something else, but the club, I don't know. I can't think of anything so massive. You know, I mean, there's ones that had short-term impact. You know, to give you an example, Pirlo, Milan's decision to let Pirlo leave had a massive impact on Milan, but also Juventus. It helped them build this dynasty of winning 9 in a row. You know, so I think maybe that's one. Pirlo. It wasn't all Pirlo, but obviously he was a big catalyzing effect of that. So maybe Pirlo. Milan letting Pirlo go on a free transfer. I mean, I'm thinking another one. Juventus probably be the decision to sell Zidane for you know and replace him with Thuram, Buffon, and Nedved. You got 3 world-class players for the price of 1, and that had a big impact on their dominance for the next kind of 5 years after that. It's difficult. I mean, there's always been kind of.
I mean,
results.
what's his name? Cragnotti at Lazio and the Tanzi family at Parma. Like the way that those projects completely imploded.
Yeah. That's just kind of living beyond your means and being involved in corruption.
It's a difficult question, that.
But at the same time, without those people, they never would have had, that success in the first place. Like Parma were a nothing team their entire history, and they had this glory era in the 90s because of all the money. And then obviously, it was built on sand and it all quicksand, and it all collapsed. And Lazio.
You could argue Berlusconi. I'll go with 2 moments. Berlusconi buying Milan and everything that happened after that was
it's a good one, yeah.
And Maradona going to Napoli.
Yeah.
That signing changed the trajectory of Napoli forever.
Yeah. I didn't actually think those are the 2 best ones you've come up with. They're if we're talking about bigger picture, Pirlo, Zidane, they're more short term kind of, but in terms of historic, we're talking about history. I mean, I guess 9 Scudetti in a row is historic as well. But yeah, I think in terms of, Berlusconi and Maradona are probably the 2 best examples.
Stephen Barr says, "Hi guys, hope you're both well. This question is more for Nima. It's a Serie B one. I wanted to ask you if there are any young Italian talents in Serie B this season that we should keep an eye on. Alfagio Cisse at Catanzaro seems like someone who could be on the radar for the national team in a few years. I haven't seen much of him himself. Do you have a scouting report on him or any up-and-coming players we might not know about?" No, I can't say I've watched too much of him. Like I said, I want to wait. Ask me these questions in after Christmas, because I think this Serie B, there's no one that really stands out for me in Serie B in terms of youth, like Pio Esposito did for the last 2 years. I want to wait. Because I think it's still very early days, and I haven't seen anyone, for me at least, that stands out. But so ask me this after Christmas, and we'll do a proper Serie B deep dive on it. Jamie Drum, final question, says, "Hey guys, great content as always. Question: is Nico Paz the best loan player in Serie A ever? Would he be the first loan player to win the MVP?" Well, okay.
He's not officially a loan player. Officially, Como own him.
Yeah.
But Real Madrid have installed 3 buyback clauses in his contract. The first expired this summer, the second is next summer, and the final one is the summer after. And each year, the price goes up for their buyback by a tiny amount. It's like 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, or 9, 10, 11, or something like that. So I mean, officially, Como own him. It's just Real Madrid control him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But
he'd probably be the best. Yeah, probably the best player of that under that kind of arrangement to win Serie A. I don't know if anybody ever has. I mean, if you're calling him a loan player, as a player on loan, ever been the okay, you're saying best loan player in Serie A ever? Yeah, I don't know who the best loan player ever has been in Serie A. I mean, I don't know how many there's been. Depends how you say, because sometimes there's players that they do, like these not co-ownership, where they they don't sign them straight away. They do, they sign them and they make it official the year after. All the Italian clubs do it to cook the books, all of them. Just to put the accounts, push it back a year on the accounts, basically.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I really don't know. So I don't think he qualifies. But I mean, if we have to say the best player on loan, who would that be, in your opinion?
Again, it depends how you define it. Like, there's been players who, like, for example, when Inter
let's just go with a loan. With a loan,
like Juventus signed Nico Gonzalez last year. He was officially on loan last season, and then it was made official at the end of the season. But it was an obligation, and it was the deal was already done. It's just they did it for an accountant.
Well, I mean, Colomwani.
Yeah, that's a loan. That's a proper loan because the deal wasn't done officially. I think it has to be that kind of loan.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
One of the best.
To go.
Yeah, Alvaro Recoba for Venezia was one of the most memorable. He was unbelievable. Do you remember him?
Was.
And he saved them from getting relegated. So that's
Spalletti wasn't Spalletti there then?
I'm not sure.
I have a memory of Spalletti being there at the time.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting one.
Recoba would be one.
Recoba's an excellent shout. Recoba's an excellent shout. But I can't really think of one. But I can't really. I mean, just recency bias. I think Colomwani did really well for you last season.
Yeah, he did.
But loan players, it's a tricky one. That one, for sure.
Let me Google it and cheat.
Yeah.
Best loan players ever. Yeah. Serie A. See how good AI is.
I can't think of any. I really can't think of any.
Lukaku at Inter.
How was that good?
I'm not saying it was good. I'm just reading it out. Sule at what's it?
Frosinone. Frosinone.
Even though they got relegated.
Matthias Sule. Oh, that's a good shot.
First half of the season, he was amazing.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Can't really. Yeah. None of the other names. Morata was great at Juventus, but that wasn't a loan. That was another of these arrangements.
Buyback.
Had the buyback back on him. So I don't think that really counts. Yeah.
No, I'm
sticking with Recoba.
I think that's a good shout. Right. That's all the questions you guys had sent in this week. Please do remember to send in your questions via DM on Patreon by Sunday latest. Next week is a Champions League week. So next week will be a Monday show, then the Q&A, and then the Champions League roundup on Thursday. We're back to a more normal schedule. So please do remember to send in your questions, like I said, on DM on Patreon. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Ciao, ciao.